Welcome to Hardball Conversation. I'm your host, Landon Evanson. Here at HBC Sports, we carry the Minnesota Twins on Fox Sports North for you, and of course the Cubs on WGN, but we wanted to expand upon that and bring the national pastime right into the backyard of all the Twins, Brewers, and Cubs fans in our coverage area. Each week throughout the season, we'll be bringing you telephone interviews with current and former Major League players, including the likes of Carlos Gomez from the Brewers and Kurt Suzuki from the Twins, with the focus being Minnesota, Milwaukee, and Wrigleyville. But we will expand beyond that realm, like next week, when we'll speak with Chelsea Ross, also known as junk baller Eddie Harris, from perhaps the best baseball movie ever produced, Major League. However, today, we're kicking things off with true Twins royalty. Earlier today, we spoke with two-time World Series winning first baseman Kent Hrbek as our first hardball guest, and Herbie didn't disappoint. We talked Joe Mauer, the challenges of playing for a rebuilding team, 10-year contracts, and what he said to Gene Larkin before he played at Dan Gladden with the biggest run in Twins history. So without further delay, Kent Hrbek. First of all, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
Yep, no problem.
The Twins won a pair of championships during your career and also finished second a couple times, but during those leaner rebuilding years, as the club's going through right now, what was the day-to-day focus for the team and for you as a player? How difficult was that to deal with that when you knew you weren't really going to be in contention and you're building toward the future?
I never really looked at it as we would go to spring training. You go with the idea that your club's going to be competitive. I never had that feeling that we weren't going to be competitive or didn't have a chance. I looked at any time I was stepping on the field with our team that we were going to win. Of course, it didn't turn out that way for a few years, but we still had the confidence as young players that we were going to win, and we went out there and gave it everything we had. I don't think. If you're going to get the idea of stepping on the field and not thinking that you're going to be competitive, not going to be able to win, and not going to be able to compete, then you're barking up the wrong tree. I think you should probably start a different profession. But you got to have the confidence that you're going to go out there and win. I don't care how young you are, or especially at the start of the season. Come September, when you're 25 games out, it's a different story. Mm-hmm. So. It was tough. We took a beating, but we were playing the big leagues. We were young kids, and we were hungry. We played as hard as we did back then as I did later on in my career. Mm-hmm.
So how do you think Joe Mauer's taken to first base? I mean, do you see his numbers in terms of batting average or whatnot improving now that he doesn't have to take such a beating behind the plate every day?
They say it's going to be better. Joe's a great athlete. For some reason, all of a sudden, this catcher thing, getting beat up behind the plate, has really come into play. I don't know why. I mean, there was guys back when I played, Carlton Fisk, among a bunch of other guys, I guess, that played every stinking day, day games after night games. Those guys are still out there performing. I don't know. I guess I have to see scientific proof or something in order for stuff to make me think that because the guy's behind the plate, and sure, he's going to get foul tips, but he could take line drives off the shin and line drives off the chest and off the teeth playing at first base too. I mean, it's not like it's a safety net over there. He can get run over by somebody at first base. I mean, I got my arm banged up over there, diving for a ball, dislocated the shoulder once, so it's not like it's an easy position to play. There's no position that's easy to play, and you can get hurt any place. I guess maybe behind the plate because you get dinged up a little more in your squat, and has a little more wear and tear on your body, I guess. But Joe's a great athlete. He's going to hit no matter where you stick him.
Mm-hmm. After a game like the one the Twins had in Chicago yesterday on Wednesday, they had a 2-run lead heading into the ninth. Games up being tied, and they lose in extra innings. For you, how long did it take to shake off a game like that when you were involved in it? I mean, is this as simple as just saying, we'll go get him tomorrow, or does that linger for a while for you?
You think about it up until the next game starts, and then they could think about it come middle of the season when they're when they could be tied for first or something. If we could have won that game that we lost at the second game of the season. There's stuff that's all over the place. That games you think about when you start looking at the whole season when you're playing. But you try to concentrate strictly on the next game when you're playing. But after the game's over or during your off time, you look back at games and how you could have maybe hopefully done things different. But But the best thing is to hopefully be like a duck and let the water slide right off your back, or the game slide right off your back, and go get them the next day. But you can't. You still have to learn by your mistakes, and definitely have to, and also learn by when you did stuff good to learn too, not just by your mistakes, but what you did well too.
Miguel Cabrera just signed a 10-year deal with the Tigers. Of course, Robinson Cano did the same thing with the Mariners a few years ago. Albert Pujols with the Angels. Clearly, those are deals that are good for the players who are signing them. But do you feel long-term deals like that are good for baseball?
You're talking to a player. Of course, they're a player. Who wouldn't? Tell me who wouldn't want to sign that? You ask any person that's not even an athlete, and I'm sure they're going to say yeah. But saying it's bad for baseball, I don't think it's bad for baseball. I think sure it's like I say, it's good for a player. It's great for a player. And they're not walking in there with a gun to the guy's head either. So right. I'm sure it's the organization was thinking it's going to be good for them too. So there's no way you can fault the player for going in and doing that. I mean, you would do the same thing at the office where you work. You wish you could walk in there and get a 10-year deal, right? I mean,
absolutely.
And get it guaranteed at that. So is it good for baseball? Is it bad for baseball? I don't think it's not bad for baseball, but it's great for the player. But and I myself, just coming from myself, I'm not going to play any better because I signed a 6-year contract or because I signed a 6-day contract. I'm going to go out there and you can't turn it on and turn off playing the game of baseball. You can't all of a sudden decide that you want to hit and say, okay, it's a contract year. I think I'll go out and hit 350 this year. It's not that simple. Yeah. To go out and say you can hit 220, that might be a little different story because it's a little easier to hit 220 than it is 320.
You've done quite a few of the highly entertaining Twins territory commercials, including this year's nod to the Gant tag from the '91 World Series. How long does it take to get one of those spots shot and finished? And of all the ads you've ever done, which one was your favorite?
Oh boy, I don't know if there's a favorite. They've all been fun. They've all had some different quirks and this and that. And I think the people in Periscope who's writing for them and stuff have done a great job. But not just my commercials, but the other Twins commercials. They've been fun, and I think they're entertaining. They're fun. How long they take to shoot depends on how good the talent is. They're doing them, and how many different angles and stuff there, because there's all kinds of setup and this and that with what's going on and where they need camera angles from. So I can tell you right now that the one that we did down in Florida I did that down the end of February when we shot that one at first base. That literally only took us probably just about 2.5 hours to shoot, which was for all the stuff that they had to set up and being out in the field and everything. And everybody went along pretty good, and the star of the show when that thing was TC. He was a beating out there, and it was more than one time I threw him to the ground. So he was definitely the trooper of the day that day.
Yeah. So last question here. Speaking of the '91 series, you were intentionally walked to load the bases in the bottom of the 10th of Game 7. You had a few things to say to Gene Larkin as he made his way to the plate. I interviewed him a few years back, and I'd asked him about that. He said he couldn't really remember what you said. Do you remember what you said to him as he was coming to the plate?
I just told Gino, hey, just go up there and have a good at bat. Don't it wasn't a long thing, just something in the realm of, hey, don't try to be Superman. TK said that a lot to us when we went to the plate. A lot of times we went to the plate, and there was a certain thing he was always doing S on his chest, like don't try to be Superman.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of what I said to Gino. Let's not try to do too much here. Like I said, he probably wasn't. He was so trained in what he had to do at the plate. He probably went in. He probably, like I said, he didn't understand. Couldn't remember what I said to him. But it was something of that fact of don't try to be Superman, because it always worked for me when TK would say it to me.
All right. Well, Kent Hrbek, it's been a blast. Thanks for sharing a few minutes with us today.
Alrighty.
We'd like to thank Kent Hrbek for taking some time to speak with us today, and we'd also like to remind you that our next guest shall be the man who portrayed junk baller Eddie Harris in perhaps the greatest baseball movie of all time, Major League. Chelsea Ross will join us next week. Thanks for dialing us up, and until we do speak again, play ball.